The year was 1943. World War II had reached a fever pitch. The Atlantic Ocean roared with the constant thunder of battle. Convoys, submarines, and aircraft locked in an invisible war for control of the seas. Deep within the U.S. Navy's laboratories, however, another kind of weapon was being forged. One not of steel or fire, but of science itself. Whispers spoke of a new project unlike anything the military had attempted before. It was said to involve Einstein's unified field theory, an attempt to bend light and magnetism in ways never before understood. The mission was bold, even absurd, to make a warship invisible to enemy detection. Officially, it was called Project Rainbow. Unofficially, it would become known as the Philadelphia Experiment. At the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard, the destroyer escort USS Eldridge sat moored under tight guard. Sailors on nearby ships joked nervously about the ghost ship. Strange men in lab coats came and went, carrying coils of thick copper cable and crates marked Top Secret Naval Research Lab. When night fell, green lights flickered from the decks as technicians wired massive generators deep inside the vessel's hull. Those who worked closest to the ship later spoke of a strange vibration in the air, a metallic hum that seemed to throb inside the bones. They were told the system was a new kind of electromagnetic camouflage, a force field to deflect radar waves. But the scientists had other ambitions. If the magnetic field could be tuned perfectly, it might not only hide the ship from radar, but from sight itself. On an early summer morning, the experiment began. Power surged through the Eldridge's coils. Witnesses on nearby piers described a shimmering haze rising from the ship like heat mirage on desert sand. Then the steel outlines of the destroyer began to blur. A green-blue mist enveloped it. Within seconds, the ship was gone. For a heartbeat, there was only silence. Then a flash, white and violent, cracked across the harbor. Instruments failed, compasses spun madly. When the light cleared, the Eldridge had reappeared, rocking in the water as if nothing had happened. But something was terribly wrong. Crewmen staggered on deck, disoriented and sick. Some had collapsed, vomiting. Others screamed incoherently. And a few, according to later accounts, were simply missing. A handful were found fused into the steel bulkheads, their bodies partially embedded in the metal as if the ship had swallowed them. The Navy immediately sealed the dockyard. Reports were classified. Survivors were shipped to remote bases and ordered to silence. The Eldridge soon disappeared from Philadelphia altogether, reassigned to convoy duty in the Atlantic. Officially, nothing unusual had happened, but sailors talk, and the story spread like wildfire through the fleet. Men spoke of the invisible ship that had blinked across space. Some said it had momentarily teleported to Norfolk, Virginia, 200 miles away, before reappearing in Philadelphia minutes later. Others swore that when the ship vanished, strange blue fire danced along its masts, and men seemed to fade in and out of reality. The Navy denied everything. In the years that followed, official documents listed only routine equipment tests, that those who claimed to have seen the event could not forget the sight, the color of the mist, the screams, the impossible vanishing act. A machinist named Carlos Allende, later known as Carl Allen, would write letters describing what he saw that day, the USS Eldridge disappearing in a field of green light and reappearing moments later. Proof, he said, that the U.S. Navy had achieved invisibility and teleportation. Scientists dismissed Allen as a crank, yet he cited real theories, quoting from Einstein's unfinished work on the unified field theory. Could magnetism and gravity be linked in such a way that they bent light itself? The idea was intoxicating. If true, it would mean humanity had momentarily broken the limits of physics. By the late 1940s, the story had become a legend among sailors and conspiracy enthusiasts alike. Files labeled Project Rainbow vanished from Navy archives. When questioned, officials laughed. The Philadelphia experiment? Pure fantasy. But fantasy had a strange way of touching reality. In the 1950s, newly declassified research revealed that the Navy had been experimenting with degaussing, magnetic techniques to protect ships from mines. Yet eyewitnesses insisted the Philadelphia tests went far beyond that, and the survivors, if any still lived, were silent. Stories emerged of former crewmen who suffered amnesia, strange burns, or even hallucinations. Some allegedly phased out of existence, vanishing for minutes at a time. Hospitals near Norfolk reported treating sailors with severe radiation sickness shortly after October 1943, the same month the Eldridge had been in port. Still, the government said nothing. In 1955, journalist Morris K. Jessup received an anonymous package. Inside was a copy of his book on UFOs, filled with handwritten notes in 3 different inks. The writer claimed to be a witness to the Philadelphia experiment and hinted that the Navy's research had attracted extraterrestrial attention. Jessup was intrigued, but within 3 years, he was found dead in his car, an apparent suicide. To this day, many believe he was silenced. By the 1960s, the legend of the disappearing warship had entered American folklore. Documentaries, pulp magazines, and late-night radio shows all chased the mystery. The USS Eldridge itself was quietly transferred to the Greek Navy, renamed HS Leon, and served until 1992. Sailors who served aboard it reported no hauntings, yet tourists who visited claimed to hear faint humming from its steel walls, like a ghost of the experiment itself. Still, researchers wondered, could the Philadelphia experiment have been a cover for something else? Some historians argue the event was confused with real radar invisibility tests, precursors to modern stealth technology. Others believe Project Rainbow was a classified attempt to teleport objects through a wormhole, a theory fueled by post-war discoveries in quantum physics. The truth remains hidden in classified archives. Declassified memos confirm that the Navy worked with the Office of Naval Research on electromagnetic propulsion studies in the 1940s. Scientists involved later joined projects that would lead to the Manhattan Project and the space race. The technology might not have been magic, but it was decades ahead of its time. Today, the Philadelphia experiment sits at the crossroads of history and myth. It embodies America's obsession with secrets, science, and power, the belief that somewhere in a locked laboratory, humans once tore a hole in the fabric of reality. If the USS Eldridge truly vanished, where did it go? Some theories claim the ship slipped into another dimension, its crew forever lost between time and space. Others suggest it jumped forward in time, reappearing only briefly before disintegrating. Whatever happened that day, one thing is certain: the legend refuses to die. Even now, under layers of denial and declassification, the story continues to haunt naval historians and UFO enthusiasts alike. Perhaps the experiment was never about invisibility at all. Perhaps it was about control, testing how far the human mind could go before it broke under the pressure of the impossible. And perhaps somewhere in another secret base, far from Philadelphia, the research continued. Because in the world of military secrecy, nothing ever truly ends. If this story made you question what's possible, then remember, history still hides more than it reveals. Hit like, share, and subscribe to Unrevealed Facts, where every mystery from the past comes alive again.